Very exciting. Great.
Yes, sir. Yeah!
Okay, so let's get going on that. Thanks, Pat. Somebody's awake over there. All right, let me see. Here we go. Sort of.
You're listening to Addressing Gettysburg.
Hello, everybody. How are you today? That's great. That's great. Wonderful to hear that. So this is a little off kilter type of episode. Not off kilter, but not what we're normally doing here. We are talking about our experience on the Today Show. Oh, the things I've heard from you people. Oh, the things I've heard. I've heard things like, well, you know, it was cool that you're on the Today Show, but, you know, not a lot of history there. Yes, that's true. I know, and then that was disappointing for a lot of us. And one of those people who's very disappointed in that is with us today, and she's sitting in the studio with us, Jessie Weedleton. Hello, Jessie.
Hey.
You were so sad. You were so upset by the Today Show. We'll get into that a little bit later.
I wasn't that upset. I was happy for you.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you. You wrote a heavily worded letter to the producers of the Today Show, and I'd like to read that right now. You say, "Dear Today Show, you people suck. I put in a lot of work." No, she didn't do any of that, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get to that, what that's all about in a little bit. But first, let us go to the actual clip of the Today Show, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen, but we'll watch it again so it's fresh in our minds. And then we're going to talk about it with the people who were on, and in particularly one person who is the reason it happened. And so we'll talk and reminisce, and we'll tell you about the things that they didn't show, because there was a lot of effort that went into this. So for right now, we're going to go and watch the Today Show together. Let's do it.
So Dolly Parton said once, you can't make old friends, but you certainly can make new ones.
Yeah, and Donna caught up with a group of history buffs on a journey to friendship.
I sure did. As you guys know, this pandemic has left many people feeling isolated. So over the past several months, many folks have found friendships online. We met one group who bonded virtually, discovering not only a shared love for history, but a love for each other as well. Take a look.
Since an early age, Matt Callery has had a penchant for history. As an adult, he extended his obsession into the popular podcast Addressing Gettysburg.
Welcome to Addressing Gettysburg. I'm your host, Matt Callery.
And in 2019, he started organizing and promoting in-person tours of the hallowed battleground.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to this virtual tour.
But when the pandemic forced him to stop, he decided to go virtual, offering monthly tours online. And with the help of a shared interest in history and a strong internet connection, friendships across the country were born.
Everybody was worried about losing jobs or losing businesses or their homes or whatever it was. And so this kind of just was like, okay, let's not talk about that stuff. Let's talk about this other stuff that we find interesting. Maybe we can gain a little strength from that too.
Became more than a positive distraction during a time of uncertainty. It turned strangers into family.
They kept me laughing when I was under the most stress imaginable. You know, I'm trying to protect my 86-year-old mother who has dementia, and it was stressful.
I didn't have my gym network anymore. I didn't have that outlet for myself anymore, and the Zoom calls, these guys are what helped keep me sane and get me through that, because it was an emotionally difficult time completely. And I am just so thankful for all of that.
You know, Matt brought all this together. So now we have, you know, all what we have now, you know, which is a great group of friends that can talk about anything and everything.
Did this group fill a void for you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's the social void that, you know, existed particularly the end of March, beginning of April, when nobody could go outside or do anything. It filled that gap. It's grown from there.
It was more than just like a void fill. Like it really was an uplift. Like it wasn't just like a placeholder. It was a new discovery of like how to communicate and tell stories and just exist as people. Like we connected for all over this country. It was pretty wild.
You know, when you become a caretaker, you kind of put your own life on hold. And so you miss out on a lot of things, and you become lonely. And I was able to meet up with people online, and it was a good bunch of people. They're all good bunch of people.
Having them to engage with and learn from at the same time, it just provided like two different things that I desperately needed at that time.
What is one thing someone who is feeling lonely at home can do to make a friend online?
You got to find a group that shares a common interest. If you have an interest in something, there is a Instagram page or a Facebook group for everything under the sun. Find that and engage. And you might be very surprised that more people are willing out there to make friends than they are to distance themselves from you.
Raise your hand if this group brought unexpected friendships that changed your lives.
Absolutely.
Hello, exactly.
Okay, Eric, you could stop that there. So the stars of the show, ladies and gentlemen, of course, besides myself, Eric, and Jesse Weedleton, who are in the studio, are on your screen now, or they should be right now. They're from left to right at the top there. You have Patty McGuire, Dina Allende, Peter Bonfanti, and Karen Werner. Hello, guys.
What's going on? Thanks for having me back, Matt.
You're welcome, Pat. Always a pleasure to have you on here. So let's start, I guess, where it all starts. Dina.
Hi.
Hola.
Hola.
So tell us, how did you decide that you were going to get us on the Today Show?
I guess I should backtrack a little bit further because, I had been following you for a while, even before the pandemic hit. And I remember asking you, after I felt comfortable enough that I realized you weren't a serial killer, just on Instagram, that I could reach out to you. And so I hope you haven't changed your ways.
Yeah.
But
I just take my time.
Yeah, I just asked you, hey, if I make it out to Gettysburg, do you think I could meet up with you? You could show me around, and you were kind enough to say absolutely. And so I did. I did just that. I had never been to Gettysburg. It was a place I had wanted to go for quite some time. I'm a big history buff, and I love to go see the places where history took place. And you were kind enough to say yes. And so, of course, during our time there, I'm sure you thought we were just going to, meet up for an hour, and it ended up being the whole weekend, which I'm very grateful for.
I remember on Sunday, I think it was Sunday that weekend, you sent me a text because it was almost noon or something like that. And you were like, hello, are you taking us around today? And I go, I've been doing this since Friday afternoon. I thought my obligations are over, but no, apparently you had me for the whole weekend. But that was nice. You bought me dinner.
I did.
Yeah.
And you got something a little more than just dinner.
Whoa.
No. Time out.
Okay.
You got my services as a publicist.
Yes.
As a PR professional.
Now you at the end, I remember you saying before you went away, you said, I'm a publicist, right? And I don't remember if I knew or not, but you said, I'm going to get you some exposure. I'm going to get in the news or something like that when the time is right. And I go, yeah, okay, whatever. I've heard that before, No, not that specifically, but I've heard things like that before. And so that was in October of 19 or 18? 19.
I believe it was 19. Yeah.
Okay,
and,
so now go ahead.
Despite the fact that it was a horrible dinner, but I did say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this for you.
Well, I didn't make the dinner.
Was it Mason-Dixon?
No, I'm not saying where it was. It wasn't Mason-Dixon. No, I'm not going to say where it was.
I'm not saying because they're known for horrible food.
No, because they're not.
Where Matt takes everyone.
No.
This was not.
So I'm sure a lot of people, have made promises, but this was not an empty promise. I mean, I stuck around, the pandemic happened and you guys started evolving and doing some really great things. Mm-hmm. And I just basically thought one day to myself, I said, I'm going to do this right now. And I didn't even ask you. I did it. And then I called you afterwards and I said, I think I got you on the Today Show. And you're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I hope that's okay. And you're like, what?
Yeah, because I was thinking that you were going to get me on like a Harrisburg news station or something. And then you said the Today Show. And I remember having to change my pants after that because I about crapped them because I've never really been on TV, like local TV.
Well, so here's the thing. I am a former journalist myself, and I saw what was going on during the pandemic with us as a group, and I thought, this is a really cool story. Yes, everything that you do is really cool, and I learned a lot, and I try to retain as much information as possible. But to be honest, our story is pretty cool. So when I talked to the Today Show, it just so happens that they were looking for a story like ours.
Yeah.
So that's where the history part kind of got diluted.
And you have a friend who works at the Today Show, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
So yeah, and but they love the story, and that's pretty much how it happened.
So yeah, so then it was a couple of months of back and forth with them, and now they had an idea of what they wanted to do a story about. They were looking, it wasn't about a history podcast. They didn't want to do history. It wasn't anything like that. That's not their audience. I mean, let's be honest, right? Their audience is well, it's not their audience, and so. What they wanted to do was a segment about people who did what we did, like became better friends or closer friends or friends at all through social media during the lockdown last spring. Right. And at first I wasn't really comfortable with that. You recall?
I do. I recall.
And
absolutely.
I said, Dina, what the hell are you getting me into? Is what I said. And right. you said, we went back and forth, and I was like, well, that's not really what we're about. Like, we're not we didn't set out to make friends. It's kind of just something that happened along the way where, it's a history podcast. That's what, but
the fact that happened so organically during a time when we were, in lockdown, and we actually turned to each other to entertain each other by way of, Patrick's Trivia or just, things that we were doing together. We would consistently meet up online, not once a week, but twice a week.
Yeah.
And that's how things evolved. And the fact that it was so organic is really what was cool about this.
Yeah. And then you said to me in that one phone call, you were like, Matt, how many other national television shows are offering to put you on, or something to that effect?
Yeah.
And I checked my messages and there were none. And so you said, just get on the Today Show.
So that's when you handed over all your baby photos and
yeah, exactly. That's what I basically sold out.
Well, they assigned a really cool producer to our segment, and he was trying to he really wanted to do the whole history thing, and that's why we actually did a tour, and they assigned the on-air personality to our segment, and it's just that the upper level producers really wanted to go back to the original theme, which was friendships during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Having said that, Ryan asked for all sorts of things, those pictures and the videos, and you were kind enough to supply some stuff that you had already taken pictures of from previous tours, and that's why he just had a wealth of information from what you've done over the past few years.
And so we really did try to get a lot of the history in there. We had done a virtual tour, which we don't really do, but well, I had experience producing videos and stuff, so I'm like, all right, we could do this. So we did. We got 3 licensed guides. For the listeners out there, you know them, of course, Jesse, who's in the room with us, and Bob Steenstra and Louis Trott. And we decided to do a 3-part tour about the Abraham Bryan Farm, which maybe we can dust that off and do for real. And let people see. What are you shrugging your shoulders for, Jess?
It was an emphatic yes.
Oh, there was an emphatic
Just
shrug?
in my language.
Okay. So we did that. We did a dress rehearsal, like with the camera and everything. In the rain, a week or so before the actual shooting day, and we did that on Zoom, and we had people watching, and but it was very rehearsed. Well, not very, but it was rehearsed, and then of course we don't get to any of that, right, Jess? You put in all that work. You're very upset.
Well, I looked into a lot of things that I probably wouldn't have without it. So
you got something out of it. Okay. Well, you did a good job with it anyway.
Yeah, I think you guys all did such a great job. And I mean, I'm sorry that didn't run, but yeah, I was pretty impressed to the point where, if you recall, at the end of taping, Ryan said, wow, I think you guys are onto something here. Because he had never seen something like that done before.
Yeah, he did, right? Yeah, he thought it was. Didn't he say it was going to be a shit show, or they were like worried that it was going to be a mess?
Worried.
Yeah,
yeah,
and it ended up being pretty good. And that was, the professionalism of our guides for sure. We rehearsed it and all that stuff, but really they pulled it through at the last minute, and we went with it, and it was good. We got to go into the Bryan house and all that stuff, thanks to Chris Gwynn. So it's a shame that we don't have that footage so that we could share it with everybody, because we know that everybody loves that stuff, the history, and that's what it's all about for us. So we didn't get to do it, but anyway.
I mean, it's neat that you were able to pull together the strengths of a lot of different people that you've met through this. People taking the pictures and the videos and everything.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Chris, and
yeah,
so they all know you and were more than willing to. I wasn't featured personally, but it's cool to see how you can be a part of something that just seems like it's just in your backyard type thing, and
then it's on national television. Yeah. Okay, well, that's a pretty good perspective to have. I don't have that perspective, but now I do, because I didn't think of it that way. But I like that.
My aunt was recording the Today Show over and over again for 2.
So was my dad.
For 2 weeks. And
My mom
and then she started again.
My mom and my dad have like months worth of The Today Show got pretty good ratings from us. So some other people that we have in the group here, we're going to start up at the top left. There is Pat McGuire from the History Things podcast. You've all heard him on the show before. Now you can see him, and you can see why we normally have him on the audio versions of the show. So we have this friendship theme that we had to do, and Pat and our beloved Eric, the producer, sort of began this torrid love affair on our. It was very torrid. On our what was it? Our June Get Out of the Car tour.
Is it a bromance? A bromance?
It's a grumpmance. It's like what happens when you have 2 grumpy people and you make them stand together. They get grumpy with everybody else around them. And I was like, that pisses you off too? And he was like, yeah, it pisses me off. And I was like, all right, we're friends.
Yeah, he's like, life pisses me off. And you're like, I love you.
I was like, you're right.
So but you guys met at Mason-Dixon Distillery. Was it at the distillery, or you didn't come to the tour that day, Pat, right?
No, I had to work. And obviously, like, as soon as I became like Matt, my co-host, we came up and did your show in end of January, early February of that year, and it was sort of the first time we met and worked together.
Talking about Matt Borders is who you're talking about.
Yeah, the famous Matt that's been appearing on he's like your resident holiday guy now.
The holiday guy, Civil War holiday guy.
Yeah, but we were like in the group chat within like 10 days after meeting and being in the show, and so Matt and I quickly realized that you had this really neat network of people that are a combination of storytellers, listeners, teachers,
students.
We had a docent from a very famous cemetery up in New York that we learned a lot from.
Right.
And
indeed,
you and I host podcast shows, right? We have some of our group members are park rangers, things like that, and so when we were all stuck at home, we kind of all just started to linked together. And Eric and I were, I guess, side chatting a little bit off and on throughout the evolution of the group chats and the meets and the stuff like that. And our humor was similar. So when we got together in person for the after hours, the Addressing Gettysburg After Dark at Mason Dixon, Eric and I and Katie, his fiance, my wife Danielle, came, and we just all kind of planted ourselves at the same table because you were holding court like a good purveyor does. You had a huge table with a ton of people there, and I was like, yeah, I'm not into a large group of people. And Eric similarly was like, all right. So we sat there, and what ended up happening first was, and it facilitated everything, was that my wife and Eric's soon-to-be became really good friends, like right away. And we're making plans. And before Eric and I blinked, it was like we were texting each other like, did you know we were going to the lake this weekend? And it was like mutual, like, nah.
So that's why when you watch the Today Show clip and you see Eric and Pat sitting on the couches with their wives, that's why the wives are in there, is because that was part of the story. But that
it's
really
their fault that we're friends.
Right.
Yeah, and we spent the summer just like, doing barbecues and birthday parties and like lake trips and things like that. And it was a lot of fun. And Eric is the bromance, as Dina has called it, has continued to the point now where I have subjected Eric to helping me finish my basement in stages. So we've been here framing and drywalling and doing all sorts of fun stuff. And
Well, and you two are there's several reenactors in the group, but you two are pretty heavy into it, and
I'm recovering.
I mean,
Eric's recovering.
You guys even look alike.
Yeah, he's the taller, uglier version of me.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
So you're down to just the hat now.
Yeah.
So, that's the last step.
He's so ugly, they're blocking the camera from me seeing it because they know it actually hurts. So.
Indeed.
Love you, buddy.
So, okay, so now you were on there, Pat. What did you think about the whole thing? I mean, I seem to remember you were kind of like, man.
It was an interesting ride, man. Like, I suffer from some of the same creative stuff you suffer from. I'm big into control, especially when it's something I'm involved in and, like, where I'm representing something I've worked on or built. Like, my association with this whole group was that I hosted a show and you and I worked together in like a colleague way. So when I came in, it was like, cool, like that's how I got here. So I'm excited like to support this group and things like that. And so I don't know how to do this. I'm not in control. I like need to reflect well on my brand. I don't know how to do. So like, and then managing the fact that I'm like a full-time remodeling construction contractor, which is like, there's a lot of daytime chatter that was going on here that was stressing me out because like I couldn't be a part of it because like I'm standing on a roof.
Right.
Like,
you got to actually pay attention to your job.
Like that. So I was like super excited to be a part of it, but then the process like was starting to stress me out just because I couldn't be as involved with it as I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And then in the small things I felt I had control over, I realistically didn't because it took me a long time to figure out what this program was actually going to be, which I actually ended up really liking this concept of is like a bunch of friendships that were built. Like I know the history part being out was kind of a bummer, but like in reality, it was like never about that. This program was just always about like whatever this community was and how it kind of like helped us cope, deal, handle a really interesting, historic, and stressful time.
Yeah, and
so,
also like I've like through doing this show, besides you guys who I have like closer regular relations with, I shouldn't say relations, but communication.
This show has been off the rails weird with awkward
Not in a
comments from you
biblical
tonight,
way.
man.
Yeah,
you're on fire.
I do provide a service. I am a publicist.
Oh my!
Wow.
Jeez.
I saw Pat's eyes. I saw Pat's eyes when I made that comment, so I know that.
Yeah, he was getting interested in the conversation
I was
there.
just like, what's happening over here? I'm on mute. I shouldn't comment, so I'm just like, ah.
So you're just commenting with your face.
Yeah.
But no, so I've met a lot of really interesting and really nice people through this, and the the interactions we've had or the conversations we've had have been great. And you're right, it's not something you set out to do. Pete, you started this with me, and remember when we started and you asked me what do you want to do, or what do you want this to be, or I forgot what the question was. You remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I was trying to drill down for you what you wanted Addressing Gettysburg to be, and
because I'm all over the place.
Well, yeah, I mean, it starts on the surface. It's a podcast, right? It's a podcast about Gettysburg. But then, as you dig deeper, we finally got to this word community. And like, I remember you just kind of blurted out, you're like, I want to build a community. And it's like, that's it. Yeah. That was the thing that should be like the driving force, because I mean, history, like, kind of Pat said, like, history was removed from the Today Show story, but it was always like the substrate, right? It was always the thing that connected us. And that's really, I mean, that's like societies and like how we exist in the world, right? Yeah. The history is always there. It may not always be at the tip of our tongue, but it's the thing that binds us all. So, by focusing on this one particular aspect of history, you form this community. And I think that's been, as much as you get sidetracked with all the, actually doing a podcast and just trying to live and whatever, the community part has always been the driving factor. And I think this was kind of like just the culmination of all that.
It honestly like keeps me wanting to do it, because there's really not a lot of satisfaction in recording a show and putting it out there and not hearing back or not getting to meet people who just, tell you something. Like today, I got an email from a guy who was listening to an old show with Cody H that we did from the Cupola, and there was a term, I can't remember what it was. Oh, black, not Blackyard. Well, no, I can't remember what it was. But anyway, do you remember what it was?
It's Blackguard.
Blackguard, right. Yeah. Blackguard is what he said.
Yeah, that's the way it's spelled.
So he was quoting General Trimble, who used the word blackguard, Blackard. But Cody, none of us had heard of it. And this guy was like, maybe he misspelled blackguard, Blaggard. And this is just, General Trimble just didn't know how to spell it, and he put it as blackguard. And so like that was, when did we do that, Eric? Was that June, July, May? It was like warm.
Oh.
It was early. I think it was
after
May.
the anniversary, so it would have been like July.
All right, so July. So we did that back in July, and I'm just hearing about it now. And that's the thing I love about the podcast is like you do something now and then put it out and forget it. And 6, 7, 8 months, a year later, people come back and they have something to say about it. No, it was Blackguard. That's right. The guy thought it was Blackguard, or Cody thought it was Blackguard. Anyway, but the point is that a community does form, and it's something that you hope for, but I didn't expect it. Like, I didn't know how to do it.
Man, we've done podcasts in the past that were not history related at all.
Right.
And they were just kind of just goofy, whatever, Yeah,
nobody cares.
Getting to hang out for a few hours once a week and just talk about whatever was going on. But we had a couple of people like Superfan Mark, shout out to Superfan Mark. He was the only guy that like listened to us regularly and commented on everything that we did and visited us and called into the show. But like that, like maybe Mark kept that podcast going on for as long as it did.
Yeah.
Just because of that interaction. And then once that kind of died off, that's when we were done with it. And it was like, let's do something that's got a little bit more meaning to it. And then this is where Addressing Gettysburg comes.
Yeah, exactly. Enough with the toilet humor. Let's do something that's good for
evolution.
What
was that? Think about what the evolution of this show has been, or of this community rather, has been like. I can tell you from my personal perspective, when I first joined, it was pretty much we were only talking history.
Yeah.
At first, we were only really talking Gettysburg, and then we branched into other things. Like at the time that I really got a part of the group, my show was doing an episode about Titanic, and like everybody loves that, so that took up a lot of time. And then we had these cemetery tour conversations. We had like a bunch of other Gettysburg histories, and then eventually we started talking about our lives because we were going through the pandemic, and like we up to now, we have. Over the course of the last year, because it's been about a year now since I've been involved in this group, we have gone from just sharing history stories with each other to raising and falling with each other's successes and failures. We've had guys that have failed exams that meant a lot to them, and like they shared that with us. We've had teachers in our group who have shared their stresses of, what being a virtual teacher has been like. Things
people
like that.
So into college,
yeah, right. So, tons of stuff. There's tons of like real life that is in the group now that wasn't there a year ago because of a true forming of community.
Yeah,
there's strong personalities, things like that, and it's a fun an interesting ride at times, but it's definitely grown into this like Brady Bunch of like awkwardness. That's awesome.
Right. I do. I have to say that. I mean, if Peter, if Matt said that he wanted to build a community, if that was the first thing that he thought of way back when, and this is what we've actually come to, what he's actually built, because we are a community. What I do think is also very interesting is that, there are all sorts of people in the group, and there's been a lot happening in our lives in the United States, and we all have our opinions and our beliefs, but none of that we allowed into the group. In other words, we allowed ourselves to get to know each other without battling each other on politics, religion, and all those things, which
yeah, that's a rule.
This ended up being a community, but more so a safe space for us to just grow and become friends and escape.
Well, it's a rule because it tried to sneak in a few times, Matt.
Oh, yeah.
That's why we had to lay it down that we're strictly talking history or food.
Well, that's right. It's hard. It's hard when things are happening, on a daily basis. It's hard not to comment because Karen can jump in, when there were, around her city, she's in Minneapolis, when there were rioting, she was scared and, she confided in us, and it's hard not to talk about those things that are happening in our lives. But I think we've done a pretty good job.
Yeah, Karen, go ahead, since we brought that in there. Now that's kind of how you got, well, it's not how you got into the group, but it's kind of how we became friends.
Yeah, because that was end of May last year. So, I mean, obviously still during that initial first shutdown where everything was closed. And you and I had been talking quite a bit at that point, I think. But I believe we spent pretty much all night on the phone 3 nights in a row. And you were streaming live what I was watching on the news locally. And we, watched what was going on in Minneapolis. And we kind of went through that. I mean, I was very scared sort of have like your friendship there and then have this distraction of the group and everybody to talk to. It was just, it was really great during a time when you're layering that sort of stress and those things that were going on top of the shutdown, the pandemic, everything that was going on. So it was just kind of a multi-layered stress. But I
remember that one night.
Really, I think when you and I spent all that time on the phone.
Yeah. I remember there was one of the nights I think, I don't remember what it was. There was something like it was nearing your house, but it wasn't really nearing your house. But you thought it might have been because there were sirens like a block or two down or something like that. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, they got it was within 2 miles of my house. So I think that was the first night.
I remember, and I was like, I was starting to get scared because I go, well, I don't know what her address is if I have to call the cops. And then I go, well, if I have to call the cops, they're not going to go to her house. No. They're too busy with other things, So yeah,
they were not responding.
But then you came out in June for our tour then, and you got to meet everybody. And what's that like? I mean, we all go through it, so any one of us can answer this, but I'll ask you, Karen, first. What's that like to talk to a bunch of people online and then finally meet them in person after so many months?
I think if I had just initially just been like a part of just been following on Instagram and not ever engaged with anybody, I think it would have been more stressful. I'm a pretty shy person and introverted. So I think that would have been difficult, but that was initially my plan anyways. I had bought a plane ticket to fly out to come to the June tour March 6th. So that was before the shutdowns even happened and before I'd even talked to you. But, Donnie and I had chatted a few times and he had said, you need to follow Matt. And if you can ever make it out for one of these tours, you should make it out for one of these tours. So I was finally going to do that. Then, of course, the shutdown happened and we started doing the Zoom calls. And then it just became about coming out there and meeting my friends, face to face.
Yeah.
So it really changed, when I'd initially bought the plane ticket and then, spent months not knowing if I was even ever going to be able to go out there because everything was shut down.
to actually coming out and meeting people that I felt like I had relationships with and that I had formed friendships with and that I'd gotten to know. So I was even more excited then. And I think it was less stressful than it would have been, or less nerve-wracking, I guess, to be like, to meet people you don't know, because I felt like I did know people. And especially like you and I had logged a ton of phone time by then. And so it just felt like I was finally meeting my friends.
And that was the most thrilling part, right?
Obviously.
Hello, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I'm the only one, I think, in the group that hasn't had an opportunity to meet everybody other than Matt in person. But I know that I'll be ecstatic. I mean, and hopefully we'll be able to give each other a hug, because I sometimes feel like I just want to hug you guys.
As long as you have a COVID test before, I think we'll be okay with that.
Well, I think, like Pat said, this has really evolved in the last year since we started doing this. I mean, because it started with history, and now we're actual friends and people who know each other. So we have that connection now. That's different than it was a year ago when we were just kind of entertaining ourselves during the shutdown.
Right.
So, what about you guys, the Pete and Pat, meeting people after seeing them in the group and all that stuff? Any comment on
first,
that?
Peter?
What? Yeah, I think to agree with Karen, it's like, you get to know people. I think, especially during those, like the chats, especially like where it's, like the actual text chats. I don't know. I feel like people are a little more open during those things.
Yeah.
It's, especially for introverted people, it's a lot easier to conversate in a setting like that. At least for me, it is. Whereas if you put me in a room full of that group on the very first day that we all met, I would be very quiet, But in that setting, I think you open up a little bit more. You have this shared interest of something, so like you're not complete strangers, like there is something to talk about. But then I just remember going to that June tour. And this was after, it seems like forever ago, and it was forever ago, but that was only 3-4 months into this, into this pandemic. But I remember going to that as like, I so needed that at that point. And I so needed to be around a group of other people. Yeah. And just to see the turnout that came out for that tour, I don't know. It was just like, I definitely needed that kind of community beyond, the social media, because, while we have evolved as a group and we share a lot of things, there's just nothing replaces that kind of contact, that kind of interaction. So, I'm excited when you announced the tours for this coming up year. Like, people were already like booking their hotels and figuring out flights and stuff like that. And to have that kind of excitement around that is it's exciting, for lack of a better word, and it's really, just having been there from the beginning, maybe I'm not as obviously involved in the show as I was in the beginning, but to have you say that community was important to you. And I remember when you said that, it wasn't like a calculated thing. It was a very I was pushing you, and it just came out. It was like a very guttural thing. And
it was like in the movies where they're like, well, what are you trying to say? It's like, I love you.
Right. It was like, you can't handle the truth.
Yeah, right.
It was very much like that. And and so so it was real. And so I think in June and especially, even with the Today Show, you made a call out to to the group, beyond this group, you made a call we need people to fill up this tour. How many people were at that tour?
66, I think.
Right. It was a huge showing. And just talking about the sense of community, like Jesse pointed out earlier, you had Chris Gwynn there, you had the guides there, you had somebody doing professional movies there, you had the Today Show. It was just this pinnacle of what you wanted of a community. And that's what a good community does, is that it's there for, it's there for the rest of the group. So I don't know what the original question was, but
I don't know. It was a good answer, whatever it was.
Peter, Peter, were you nervous to meet us? God.
I wasn't. No, I was not nervous, but I didn't realize how much it would have fulfilled me. I think that's what it was.
You were surprised by it. Were you nervous?
In your house, you don't realize what kind of a toll that takes on you.
Sure. Were you nervous to, as you say, conversate? I said, were you nervous, as you say, to conversate?
What, with the group?
Yeah, no. You said you know how I am with words. You said conversate before, and it's one of my pet peeves.
Oh, it is. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to. No, it's another pet peeve.
Just give me a hot minute, and I will.
Stop! Don't list them all, please.
I'll jump in, man. I wasn't nervous.
Who asked you, Pat?
What'd you say?
No, I'm just kidding. I felt like I had to bust your balls there. Go ahead, Patty. You jump in.
Dude, I've been sitting under these headphones most of the day. My show did a 5-hour banger today, so I'm a little podcasted out right now. Sorry, missed that joke at my expense, Matthew. All I was saying was I was like Pete. It was like I wasn't like nervous, but I was like it was unexpectedly a relief to meet people in person because I am a super extroverted person, but I have this like very hidden and deep and powerful introverted part of me that like really has a tough time meeting new people, which usually my defense mechanism is I just generically don't like people or meeting new people. So I'm always like if I hadn't had the group like texting physical chat we were in or the Zoom things, like I would have gone into this with a sense of like social dread because I'd have been like, we're meeting a lot of people that have done a lot of talking and like now it's like the gloves are off, the curtain is lifted, this is who we are kind of thing. And like that's always a stressful thing. It doesn't matter if it's my day job or this kind of thing.
Right.
And I had none of that apprehension going in because we had all the Zoom stuff and new Google Meets and there was like the trivia and we'd had fun, we'd laughed and we argued at times and we had to establish boundaries because of certain things along the way. And it was just like, so there was some strong familiarity, but after the night was over, I was like, I feel a lot better than and I didn't even know I wasn't going to feel bad or good, or I just, I was like, I'm going to have a good time because
do you have social anxiety, Patty?
Like big time. And like people don't really know that because most people, what they see is I've never met a stranger personality.
Right.
But it's like a light switch I flick on because I'm actually super nervous. And so I'm like, I'm just going to over extrovert on you so you don't know I'm scared.
You are a scared little boy, aren't you?
Yeah, well, it's because I'm
scared little boy inside. Okay. All right. So now
this is where we need your niece. You're the psychotherapist to come in and psychoanalyze us.
Yes.
You're us allowed.
See, that would be good.
I'm Irish. Freud even said it. The Irish are impervious to psychoanalysis, so it'll be worthless anyway, Pete.
Maybe.
Steel trap.
Because their psychosis is too strong.
Yes, we are crazy. We're crazy people.
All right, so let's get to the part of when we're actually on the Today Show. So now we do these interviews over Zoom, and like we said before, we did a Zoom tour with Jesse, which we'll get to that in a second. But the first thing we did 2 days prior to that was our interviews with Donna Farazan, who was the correspondent for the piece, and it was kind of weird because we had to make it look like we were in different places. Because social distancing.
Well,
and
no,
all, right?
if I can just jump in there. I mean, it's a Zoom call.
Yeah.
It's not that we had to. They never told us we had to do anything.
Oh.
But from my perspective, as your pseudo publicist,
right,
I knew that we needed to look like we were in one of our regular chats.
Oh, you were producing.
I was producing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the Today Show did not tell us to do anything. They wanted us to do exactly what we always do, but it so happens that everybody was going to be in Gettysburg when this interview was going to take place.
Right. So, Which meant that we had to go to different places. So Karen was at her hotel room. Pete was in the bathroom at my house. No, where were you, Pete? No, I wasn't. You got to turn your mic on, Peter. Turn your mic on.
You're talking about the virtual tour,
The
right?
virtual tour, yeah.
Yeah, I was just back in my hotel room.
All right, okay, you were back in your hotel room. Pat, you were at Eric's?
No.
Yes.
That was for the virtual tour. But for your interview, you were home. And Eric,
for when Danielle and I were together, we were at my house.
Right, and then Eric and Katie were at their house as well for your interview,
as we usually are.
So I went over to Eric's house to do my interview because at the time I didn't have my bookshelf set up, and I wanted to sit in front of a bookshelf, and so
So my books are famous now. That's
your books have been on national television.
Yep, we sure have.
And I wish we had taken that Playboy coffee table book out of there, but whatever.
Well, you live and learn.
Yeah, and so we go there, and I wasn't nervous about this at all until I was driving to Eric's house, and then I started getting nervous, and so I didn't want to have dry mouth, so I was chewing gum. I put a piece of gum in my mouth, which I forgot to spit out when we started the interview. And actually, if I recall, that part of the interview where I have the gum hanging out half out of my mouth like an idiot, it reminded me of that, what's that girl's name in the Willy Wonka there with always chewing the gum? Violet Beauregard.
Yep.
And sitting there chewing the thing. That I think was actually done before the interview started, if I'm not mistaken. Like that was when we were sitting around just kind of warming up and talking, and I think they took that. But whatever, maybe the interview had started. But lesson learned, always assume the interview has started and spit the gum out. Anyway.
I could have killed you for that.
Yeah. Oh, you could have. You should have heard. My mother was like, "What are you chewing the gum for?" Oh my God.
The gum was like a separate entity in the interview.
Yes.
Like
yes.
It was like the fly on Pence's head during the debate. You had the gum.
You know?
You had the fly, you had the gum.
Who let this piece of gum into the community?
I still don't even know what I was saying because I keep focusing on the gum. I don't even know.
So he's going to come out and talk about his experience on the Today Show.
The gum?
The gum has entered the chat.
Well, I wasn't expecting to be on national television.
Oh, God, and you are awful when you chew gum.
I know.
Awful.
I know.
Man, I mean, I was like, what was he thinking?
I wasn't. And that's the problem. I wasn't thinking. I needed you. This is the thing, Dina. I needed you there. I needed you there with me. You should have flown up and been there with me so that you could say, what do you do? Take the gum out. We're going to start. Oh, thank you, Dina.
Is this the same interview? Is this the same interview where you sat all weird with your arm over the chair?
That was later.
But that wasn't weird. He was relaxed.
That was me being relaxed.
That didn't bother me.
You know why I did that?
Really did bother me.
You know why I did that?
I have to say that.
Hold on, Dina. Hold on 1 second. Uno momento, por favor. I did that because you watch these things and everybody's so stiff and their head onto the camera. And I said, no, I'm going to be different. And
I like that.
I slung my arm over the chair.
You told me it was because your back was.
Well, that was the excuse. I didn't want to because if I said what I just said, then you'd be like, oh, what a douche, So I said, my back hurts, and now you can say.
I say that anyways.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that should be another button that you add. So instead of
what, a douche,
you can fight back.
Cool.
And forth.
Oh, exactly.
Or yeah,
right,
or
one of those.
Tim Smith, cool.
Cool. Cool. Okay. So anyway, we had so I did that. That was like 45 minutes or whatever, and then we were going to do this group interview. So now Karen in the hotel, Donnie at wherever he was. He was in his hotel too, wasn't he?
You know how awful this whole process was for me?
Why?
Because I had to try to keep my 90-pound
dog out of
overactive dog silent in my house so that people didn't know that you were in my house.
Right. Because everybody knows your dog's bark. I would say, wait a second, is that Eric's dog?
She just makes so much noise.
Yeah, but she was good though.
But that wouldn't have mattered. Matt could have a dog in his house.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter.
Exactly. But
then I also had to keep my dog from walking into his shot too.
Yeah,
so
but I just would have incorporated
You walked into my shot.
My dog?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's fine.
Oh, that's cute.
I wasn't there.
So we had to do then a 4-way interview, and so it was Dina, Karen, Donnie, and myself. Right? Am I right?
Right. Yeah.
And so now we all had to talk, and basically we just sat there and talked. Right? Donna didn't ask. So it was very good because Donna just asked a couple of questions, and then just kind of let us go.
Right. So there's a lot of that interview that didn't make it.
Yeah, no kidding.
No.
It was an hour. That was an hour that we did that.
Yeah,
There's
so
so
was
much
mine
good
and Pat's.
stuff.
Yeah. There was a lot of good stuff.
There was a lot. There was Karen. So there was a point where Donna says to me, she goes, "So Matt, you and Karen have been getting very close." And I said, "Well, you don't need to be putting italics on it there." And everybody had a little bit of a laugh. But Karen, I guess, felt so awkward that while that conversation was going on, she was making a face and doing air quotes. Karen, can you do it for us? Can you make the face, please? Please make the face. You're like, yeah. She was making air quote faces, and we were hoping that would make it on national television just for the face. But it didn't. It didn't. And that's good.
I panicked and it just happened, and then I regretted it immediately.
But it's good though, because
then afterwards we went to Dobbin House and had wine, and I told you about it, and now it's just become a thing.
And her friend Tiff, who was with her, took a picture of her doing it, and Karen will not give her permission to send me the picture because it's one of the funniest pictures I've ever seen. And yeah, because she thinks I'm going to put it out on social media.
I do.
Yeah. Well, and if I had it, we'd be cutting it into the video right now, but we don't have it.
Also mentioned framing it and hanging it in the studio, so that's not happening.
Right behind me. I will get a hold of it one day. Okay, so then that was done, and then Eric and Pat had to do you guys had to do a 4-way, right? Or was it separate? Did they do you separate?
What do you mean?
What do you mean? Like the non with our spouses?
Did you do a non with?
No.
Yeah, it was just you and
They were together.
Yeah.
They were
we only
together.
did the spouse interview and then the virtual tour.
So were you guys on with her all together?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You would have known if you hadn't jumped ship as soon as your interview was done and bounced out of my house like you needed to eat and run.
Yeah, why did I go?
I don't know.
I had to go for something. Probably food.
I had to cook in silence too. I want you to know that. You have no idea how hard it is for me to cook in silence.
What did you say, Pat?
I said, no, you weren't. You were just being awkward and left. You're like, I got that thing. Bob.
Yeah, it's about the size of it.
You met Tiff and I for dinner.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. No, it was the ladies, not the food. Yeah.
I had just flown in.
That's right.
Thanks for letting me use your bookshelves. I'm out.
Cool. So, okay. So you guys do yours. Now, did she spend a lot of time with you guys? Is there a lot missing?
It was an hour.
So you got an hour too.
Yeah,
wow.
And so out of that, so I'm just the reason I'm asking this and I'm talking about this behind the scenes stuff is so that people, because Dina, I've heard from people, they're like very upset that it's not there wasn't enough history. Where's the history? You're a sellout. I'm not going to be your patron anymore. All this stuff.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
no,
and
none of that happened.
No.
Yes.
Listen to how dramatic he's
Somebody said that they don't want to be your patron because of the Today Show?
You're selling out. We thought you were going to be bringing history to the masses. And I said, I have nothing to do with what they put out there, And they're like, well, I have hitched my horse to a paper wagon. And I said, I think you're mixing your metaphors and I don't like it. And I said, you know what? I'm refunding you your Patreon because I don't want someone who can't do metaphors right. No, I didn't say that. None of that happened. None of that happened. Well, no, people did complain. Not complain, but they were like, it's cool you got on the Today Show. Would have liked to have seen some actual history, but I get it.
So would we.
Yeah, and we would have too. But you know what? Like Dina said to me before it ever happened. She goes, "Get on the Today Show," and I'm checking around to all the other podcasts in the area. By the way, none of them have been on the Today Show as of yet. So
I have something to tell you now, then, Matt. I'm just kidding.
You're going on Good Morning America.
Yeah. Michael Strahan hosts that show, and I'm a Giants fan, so it was a natural.
Is he the host now?
Come on.
He's on Good Morning.
He's one of them.
Whatever.
One of the hosts.
Whatever happened to Brian Gumball?
Brian Gumball?
That was the Today Show.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Wasn't
in 1992.
What about Jane Pauley?
Who was Regis?
He's been gone for over 20 years.
Regis and Kathy. What were they on?
Regis. That was live with Regis and Kathy Lee.
Yeah, that was a own show.
That was a different show.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Matt's sitting here like, what time does Johnny Carson come?
Yeah.
What's Steve Allen?
Something to tell you, Matt.
Steve Allen.
Times have changed.
How's that Jack Parr? I haven't watched him in a while.
He's like, is Arsenio still on late night?
Yeah, Steven, you were going to say something? I heard a s.
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
Karen, was that you, Sissy?
We're just laughing at how old you are, Matt.
I know. It's true. I don't have cable. I do watch Carson on YouTube.
I mean, I think
I go, wow, Angie Dickinson is looking lovely now.
Are also,
oh my God,
Matt. I think the people that have complained about the things that are missing are generally probably unaware of how much stuff hits a cutting room floor in any production.
Thank you, Pat, for getting me on track. So yes, that's my point of doing this whole thing is so that people see, that's almost a 5-minute segment, and they had, let's see.
Probably like close to 4 hours.
4 or 5 hours to go through.
Right. And I do want to say, I do want to say that the fact that it was over 5 minutes is unheard of. And I think that has to do with the fact that we were in a pandemic, they don't have that many interviews. So that in itself is amazing because we would typically, I've had people on the Today Show before, and it's usually 2 minutes 30, 1:30, but 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, that's a lot. 2 minutes.
How long was Leanne Rimes on for?
Leanne Rimes was on for 25 minutes.
I was gonna say the worst part of this process was getting bumped for Leanne Rimes.
I know, it's brutal. I mean, she was great in Coyote Ugly, but
I could have understood Jewel, but Leanne Rimes, come on.
Oh, I'll stop the world and melt with Jewel, but jeez.
Wait, is there some breaking news, Eric? Are you a big Jewel fan?
Who isn't?
Who isn't? Man? Like.
Yeah,
I just imagine Eric driving around, windows down, Pieces of You on repeat, just the whole album.
Yeah, absolutely.
Foolish Games comes on, and everybody in the Jeep has to be quiet.
He's got the top down. He's like, "Who will save your soul?" And he's like blasting it, going around the battlefield.
That was a really good impression of Jewel, by the way.
I used to be in a Jewel cover band as the singer. Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me.
I know what we're listening to at the lake this summer. Then, right? Music for your soul.
As long as it's not the Goo Goo Dolls, we're still friends.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You like the Goo Goo Dolls, Pat? All right, that's another conversation for another day.
I'm a big metalhead, but I have a bunch of vices, and like 90s rock is one of them. So like all of the bands that put out 90s stuff, like the Goo Goo Dolls, is probably my favorite. But like Soul Asylum, things like that.
Counting Crows.
Ugh.
Not so much Counting Crows. That gets annoying real fast.
Oh my God, Counting Crows. I can't stand
the Wallflowers.
Anybody that hangs, that's another good one. But anybody that hangs around me knows that I have a very strong 80s and 90s summer playlist. So a lot of hits.
It gets
Puts
weird.
you in the right mood with a beard.
Anyway, so then the next, so 2 days later, then we did the virtual tour. Now the virtual tour, Jesse was a part of, and Jesse, how hard did we all work on that? I mean, you worked very hard. We worked hard to orchestrate how it would go, right? Because you started it. You were the first one, and we were over by the Bryan barn, and then the whole thing was like,
and we had to walk.
We had to walk.
Yeah. Across the road.
Across the road with the camera. We had to move with the camera, hard. Make it look all fluid. Dave Johnson from Gettysburg Images was there, and he did that. And he didn't make it to the...
You had to time it. You had to time it, remember?
Yeah. We had to time it. We had, 10 minutes? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was 10 minutes total. It was like 5 for the tour and then 5 for
questions. So we had to make sure it was all in 10 minutes, and we had 3 of you. Now... You and Lewis, I said, all right, 5 minutes. And then you guys were like, fine. You did whatever. And then Bob Steenstra, I said 5 minutes, Bob. And he goes, well, I don't know then if I'll be able to get
I need more time to make people cry. I can't do that in 5 minutes.
He goes,
I think he was pretty effective at trying.
So that's the thing is he was very good at doing it. And that's why I want to do this again, because you guys did a really good job and you really got it in 5 minutes. And
I think what we should have done is had a better Not in the Rain run through that wasn't on the Zoom call and recorded it just in case.
Yeah,
so,
next
because
time.
you were doing the adopt a position at the 111th
New York, yeah.
And that's, your logo is coming out, so that kind of could have been a thing that was more for that rather than the
That would have been good, yeah. Damn, well, you know what? Next time you get in on the production meetings.
So you got to pick another monument and then
do a new logo. But anyway,
a 3-part thing on that.
So we did this 3-part thing, and we got to go in. We did question and answers, and all you guys had questions that we assigned to you, right? We didn't do it where we were leaving anything to chance.
Well, they asked questions.
Did you guys ask questions of your own, or did we?
Who was the lady that was on?
That was Donna, the correspondent.
Yeah.
Yeah, Donna.
So she was asking questions that were just from her.
Right. Right. But we figured with everybody else, we're going to give them questions and an order in which to ask them so that you guys wouldn't be caught off guard and look like fools on national television.
Well, I feel like they would have cut that out.
Well, yeah. Well, they cut the whole thing out.
To you guys, it was seamless. You guys did such a great. The fact that we only did one dress rehearsal, well, not a dress rehearsal, but we only did it once. And, but you guys really should be so proud. And maybe I think the mistake on our end was not having a camera to record it while we did it.
Yeah, that is, and yeah. Because I was so certain, especially afterwards when they said, we thought this was going to be a shit show and you guys did a great job. I was certain that was going to get on. Like, I was like, oh, we've impressed them.
But you know what?
It was fun.
Yeah, it was. Because he said, listen, I think you're onto something here with this type of a tour. You might want to consider, listen, I just bought tickets for a virtual concert with Mark Anthony. You might want to consider doing these tours.
How'd you get those tickets? I need to know.
Okay, I'll let you know.
No. That was one of his songs, remember?
Oh.
I got it, man.
Thank you, Pete. Pete's a big Mark Anthony fan. He got it.
So anyways, it might be something because there are you have people that follow you from all over the world.
Yeah. No, it
might be something.
We actually, Dina, maybe a month after it aired, someone emailed me and he said, when is your next virtual tour? And that was the email I dreaded getting from the Today Show.
Never.
Yeah, because now I think we do have to do them. I think or at least redo that one because they did such a good job that it deserves to see the light of day. And
that was the thing I was most disappointed about not being on there.
Yeah, you too.
And listen, Matt, people, listen, I pay for online Zumba classes, and why wouldn't I pay for a tour, an online tour like this? I would.
Oh, yeah. No, that's true.
You should do it.
We'll do it. We'll do something like that. And there is a way to do it where you guys can get paid and everything, and people don't have to be there. So, yeah, we'll figure that out. Okay, so... that was basically it for the filming of everything. Oh, and then we also had the actual get out of the car tour where we had, footage shot and everything. And they didn't use any of that either. they used cell phone videos.
The video that you got out of that for promoting the get out of the car tours is great.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what's moving or promoting the get out of the car tours. But so that worked out anyway. And I was hoping, I think what I was trying to do, like Jesse, you were talking before about all these people that I got, involved in everything. I think what I was trying to do was just instead of just take the, like someone said to me, they're like, why are you worrying about getting all these other people exposure? Was it you, Eric? Did you say this?
May have been me. It might have been Pete. That kind of sounds like Pete.
Yeah, it might have been Pete. Did you say that, Pete? Like, why are you worried about getting all these other people exposure and just this is your opportunity and take it and
thanks, Pete.
F them.
Just kidding.
No, I think it was more about well, whatever. Maybe I said that.
No. Because what I was gonna say was, I was upset that the guides didn't get their tour in there. Like, I was actually bummed when after I first saw it, and I was bummed for Dave that his footage that he shot didn't get on there. And so like people that were saying, there was no history. It was, but I get what they were doing. People, viewers, listeners, whatever. I get it. Like, I feel the same way. I was pretty bummed for my own reasons, but I had to remember. And I know this lesson already from my own work experience from doing this show. You got to cut things out. Most stuff doesn't ever see the light of day. And it's not my story to tell. It was the producers of the Today Show. They had their agenda. They wanted to tell a certain story. And we were fodder for that. And that's good.
And we can do more on our end to put more virtual content out there.
Absolutely. Right. So that we don't really need them for that. And it sparked an idea that maybe we should do this. And so we'll do it. We'll do stuff like that. But anyway, and so, yeah, I mean, overall, though, I am glad we did it. We are the only podcast I'm aware of in our little world that can say, as seen on the Today Show. Actually, Pat could kind of do it. I mean, you're technically...
that was my big bummer, was they didn't even let me say my show name one time. I was like, that's the whole reason I'm a part of this group, is that I host my show.
Yeah.
I'm brought into this group.
Yeah, so they didn't even ask you, like, if you... what did they ask you?
Oh, no. In the hour, it came up, like, in the recording process, like, with our interview. Like, you can ask Eric. Like, it came up naturally a few times. So it was said. They were just like, no.
Yeah,
I blacked out. Don't ask.
To be honest, like... since
you
it's
weren't
all
that miserable, dude. You're not that grumpy.
You're
you
not.
Talked a lot of that hour is Eric talking.
Blabbermouth. We call him Jabberjaw around here.
Eric is a grumpy person. It's not a complete persona, but like the uber grumpy. This is Eric the producer.
Right. Eric the producer is a grump.
That's a character.
But Eric the regular guy is not.
He's like 50% grumpy, whereas like producer Eric's like 90% grumpy.
No, I just go to my angry place and put everything else out of my mind.
I've seen you in your angry place when we miscut wood.
So they didn't let you say your thing, and that is too bad there. And but that's the thing, is like, you know, you could hope that it is whatever you think it's going to be, but it's not. That's not the story. They got their story. They do their stories. So what? Okay,
no,
so we beat that.
I got off that quickly because like overall, like I was very happy to be a part of it. The interview really like once I was in the interview, I was pumped because it was forced me to focus on what this is and what it means to me and to be a part of. And it was actually really beneficial to like say out loud some of the ways that I've felt and the ways the group has helped and things like that. So, you know, I love my show. I want to promote it at all costs. Listen to the History Things podcast, right? Shameless plug right there. but it, you know, it does mean a good bit to me to be a part of this group because it has helped me personally to just, you know, fit in with a bunch of people. You know, and it has also allowed my show, which I care an immense amount about, to grow a little bit because people have, you know, when they take small breaks from Addressing Gettysburg or they need something other than a Civil War story, you know, I feel like we've complemented each other well in that facet. So I'm appreciative of everything that the group association has brought me, and whether I got to be the History Things podcast on the Today Show or not. I'll tell you, the thing that bugs me the most actually about the whole thing is such a little thing, but like if you look at the clip that I got, like my 2 seconds of airtime there where I'm talking, they put my name, but not my wife's name.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it just says Pat. There's no like Danielle. Like,
and you have a shirt on that says "I feel lucky."
I'm wearing my Feeling Lucky shirt.
Feeling lucky. That's it.
Yeah, well, you know, it's like I have like 4 shirts that are like go-to shirts, including this one.
Yeah, clearly none of them's a button down.
Yes, but no, it was a good experience because I'm very busy all the time, and I don't get to stop and smell the roses, as they say. And getting to the moment was stressful, but once it was in the moment, it was like, this is actually a really cool reflective experience. And, you know, it was a good thing. So I don't really have too many things I was actually bummed about. I was like, damn, they didn't say my show's name. Oh, well, moving on. So it was cool.
Quiet. Like, I was bummed that the tour got cut. You know, the part where I asked the question, but I'm glad that the snapshots of the dress rehearsal Zoom call where my hair is like this and I'm like sitting like this, not thinking that I'm going to be on national TV at the time. I'm glad that picture got onto the show.
That's true. It looked like you stuck a fork in a light socket. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, they did that, and then they took the picture you didn't like of you, right?
It's fine. I was just
soaked. You were very upset. You cried a lot.
Yeah, you guys are all getting soaked actually, you know, doing the tour, and there was like 2 or 3 of us in the dress rehearsal. You know, I was comfortable, you know.
You're like,
I was sitting in my office.
What?
I was sitting in my office hoping my boss didn't walk in, and that's what I was doing.
Pete reminded me of the guy, what's his name? The dad from Arrested Development in There's Something About Mary. And he's like laying on the couch in his underwear reading the script over the phone for Matt Dillon. And it's like he's just a slob with like a pizza box. And there's pizzas. His hair's all messed up. Well, at least you have hair, Pete.
3 shots of that in the clip from the Today Show.
They just kept using it, and then I think by the end of the thing, they kept zooming in on it. It just kept getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, it was like the Office joke at the Today Show production. Like, look at this fool.
Really, I mean, there were a million shots of you that were sent to them, and did your parents see it?
They did. I don't know. They didn't really say anything.
Yeah, because they were ashamed.
Yeah. Well, they didn't talk to me for like a month after that. So
it was like the first time their stupid son gets on national television, and he looks like he hasn't showered in 4 weeks.
They're huge Jenna Bush fans, so.
Of course. Well, who isn't? Okay. I think we've beaten this dead horse enough, ladies and gentlemen, haven't we?
Yeah.
Karen, it's good to see you. We haven't spoken in about 2 weeks. We had a little falling out. So I appreciate you.
What?
What
are we fighting about?
Oh, I've been pissed at you. You didn't know that?
No, send me like a message via carrier pigeon or something.
Oh, Karen, I'm just teasing, Karen. I'm just teasing. No, I've been on these allergy meds, so I go to bed at like 8 o'clock at night. So yeah, I'm just they dope me up. But no, we're not pissed at each other. I'm just teasing you. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
So there could still be potentially there could still be something between you two. Is that what you're saying?
What? No. Yeah. Oh, you're doing the quotey fingers. Okay. Okay, let's listen to the cackle for a minute here. Go ahead, girl.
All right, I'm sorry.
No,
Go ahead.
Keep cackling. Go ahead.
You didn't answer, so he didn't say no.
He's dying inside a little bit with every giggle.
Yeah, keep giggling.
Cool.
Keep giggling.
There is no time.
We have come to the end of the show, right, Robert E. Lee?
There is no time.
That's right. And we are going to close this up as soon as we can.
There is no time.
Okay, give me a second here.
I have told you there is no time for that. There is no time.
All right, so we're going to go, ladies and gentlemen.
Bob,
thank you to Dina for setting this up and all of the support you've given. You're awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you, Pat, for rambling on. Thank you. The look at his face. I love taking a shot at Pat because he gets very upset.
Solid amount of shade being thrown tonight. I feel like I'm missing something.
No. I like to look at your face when I say these things, like because you're like not paying attention, and then you pay attention when I throw a shot in. Peter, thank you.
Attention. I'm doing lots of things, but I am definitely paying attention.
All right.
Moving on.
There's no time.
Okay, so Peter, thank you very much for all the support from the very beginning, as we've talked about. And Pete, ladies and gentlemen, let's give him a round of applause because he's the unsung hero here behind Addressing Gettysburg. He really is.
I think that torch has been successfully handed over to Eric.
Eric is a sung hero. He's a sung hero. You are unsung.
We don't know, but he has to deal with you off the microphone.
That's accurate. Also on the microphone.
Right. I only have to do off.
Yeah, that's true. No, he deals with me at least 3 days a week.
I'm happy to be any part of whatever I can do. Absolutely.
That is the most wonderfully non-committal thing I've ever heard in my life. No, of course.
You know, I'm always good for anything. That's all I'm saying.
No, you are. You always have been. You always will be because I won't let you be anything else. And
I can't wait to get down there in April.
That's right. Oh, you're coming in April?
Don't you have a tour in April?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't know you were coming. That's great.
I think I'm going to do April and then June. Every other.
Every other. That's good. Yeah. You don't want the family thinking you don't love them. Are you going to bring the kids this year, maybe?
We'll see.
Oh, God.
They're all for it. I just got to convince everyone in the family.
Oh, yeah, your wife hates me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Pete's like, no lie. Yeah, she does.
No, I just think, last year, whatever, it is what it was. Everyone dealt with the lockdown differently. This year it's different though.
Yeah, she's allowed you to cut the saran wrap off of her, and she's come out of the closet now.
She's half vaccinated, so there we go.
Oh, real? Okay.
She's only half vaccinated.
I don't like that.
Well, she got the first one. She got to get the second one.
She's half vaccinated.
She's half German and half vaccinated.
Right.
You should sell T-shirts that say, "I'm only half vaccinated."
I like that. I'm only half vaccinated. Get out of the car. 2021.
Get out of the car.
This side of the tourist for the fully vaccinated. This side of the tourist for the half vaccinated.
All right, Pete, thank you very much for doing this. And Karen, lovely Karen, thank you so much for making the time to do this on a Saturday night when you could be out disco dancing.
I live a wild life.
You do. You really do. When are you coming out? You're coming out in June, right?
Yeah, the hotel's already booked, and then I'll be out in October too.
Oh yeah, and then how about you, Dina? You coming this year?
Well, I was striving to also either June or October, but now I heard that in October a lot of things are going to be closed because they're going to be under renovation.
No. You're misunderstanding or something, or it's being miss whatever. No, the Little Round Top, the restoration project is going to begin late spring at the earliest.
Okay.
So that's not even set in stone, but it's like the projected time.
It'll be sometime in the future.
In the future.
And they'll let us know.
They'll let us know.
At least within 15 or 20 minutes
20
before
minutes
it starts.
before they do it.
Yeah. Someday.
Yeah.
Someday.
So don't worry about that, Dina. That's no reason to not come out here. What the hell did we just get finished talking about, Dina? About how wonderful we all are, about friendships, and then you're like, oh, well, things aren't going to be open? I mean, come on.
Nothing was open in June when we came out there.
Yeah.
We still had a good time.
We'll sneak you up to Little Round Top if it's closed. We'll go through the woods or something.
So I'm it's either June or October.
Okay, June or October. Very good. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to join us for the Get Out of the Car tours this year, you should absolutely come on out in June or October, because that's when the ladies will be here. Dina and Karen, they're coming from Miami and Minneapolis. So, that's always fun when they're here. Guys, thank you very much. Dina, I almost called you Dina. Jesse, thank you for coming in. Sorry we didn't have much to talk about. I mean,
it's my fault. I've still been in my COVID hole. I haven't met anyone yet, and not even now, because I'm staring at a little camera.
Yeah.
There's another screen on the other side.
Well, someday we'll have you come out. Are you going to? Maybe you should come out to one of the tours this year and meet people.
Probably should.
The listeners would like to meet you.
I'm not coming till October.
Who's doing the first one?
Not either. Lewis is doing all of them.
All of them. Okay.
Yeah. No, Lewis, he puts them together.
Okay.
So he does all of them. I see you've been paying close attention, so thank you for just busted. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for listening. Thank you guys for coming on and doing this. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you had some laughs with us. We'll get back to history after this. We just wanted to give you a little break. It's like, like Hitchcock, right? Hitchcock, he builds up the suspense. He scares you. Okay, hold on.
Nobody knows
Generally,
what you're talking about.
Builds up the suspense, and then, there's a joke.
no time.
Okay, hold on a second. And then there's a joke, and you release the tension.
I told you there is no time for that.
You think
There is
people
no
are still
time.
listening at this point?
No, nobody's listening.
Absolutely not.
Including myself. Thank you all.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for
guys.
giving us this platform.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Have a good one, ladies and gentlemen.
Bye.
All right, that's it. Oh, only an hour and 36 minutes? I felt like...
I felt every minute of it.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me back on the show.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you all. Have a good night.
When is this gonna air, Matt?
Oh.
Right after Leanne Ryan.
Right after Leanne Ryan. Yeah. I don't know, a couple weeks maybe. I'll send it to you. It's gonna be on Patreon, so I'll send it to you on Google. What do you call it? Google Drive, so you can listen to it without being a member.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Guten Nacht.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Good night, Remy. Bye.
You.
Good night.
Bye.